Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sharp Cuts. My name is Garrett May. With me is Josh Nickel. As always, welcome back to the show. We've got an excellent show for you today. I think it's going to get heated. We'll see. We're hoping to get the youth crowd in today, Josh, because we're usually garbage at that. So hopefully to get that going. Got a few things to get through first before we get into the show. First of all, we are on YouTube, Sharp Cuts Volleyball. Hit us up there. You can see our beautiful faces. I'm hoping at least somebody is going just for that reason. Probably not, though. So we are there. Hit subscribe, 5 stars on the podcast, all that. Thanks for joining us. The second thing is we got to give a shout out, Josh. We got some gear sent to us. Unbelievable. And you are representing. I'm folding up completely. But I'm going to give the full, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll give the full, what are we looking at here, Josh?
We're looking from friend of the show, Derek, from the Ottawa area. He's got a sweet backyard court. A lot of people have played there, like Alex Anita's played there, Sergei Goroski's played there, Gabriel Prin. Like, it's a who's who. I think it's invite only, so maybe I'm said too much. But Derek sent us some swag, and I got to tell you, I'm feeling about 8 feet tall wearing this shirt, Garrett. I just feel so good right now.
That's great, because I'm feeling like tiny, because I'm swimming in those things. So I maybe need to rethink the size. But that's on me, absolutely. So sorry, we've been ignoring our guest for the show completely this whole time. So thank you for sitting there and not saying anything. Welcome to the show, Zane Grossinger. Thank you. Welcome to the show, Zane. So coming to the show with a topic is always next level. It immediately just sets you above the riff-raff that we usually get on this show. That's right. So Zane, I know you had something you wanted to get into it about, and I'm ready to go. So what are we talking about here?
Okay, well, first off, thanks for having me, and thanks for the late introduction. I won't hold it against you too much.
Okay, he knows how the show works immediately.
We're getting spicy right off the bat.
The nice thanks with a subtle chirp. Okay, watch yourself.
I'm getting familiar. But yeah, no, I think like one of the most common things guys do on the bus when you're traveling to away games is kind of trying to figure out like who would an all-star cast be for the OUA, Can West, East-West, and like how would that all-star game kind of just go? So I think that's been on my mind, and I was like hoping we can just discuss that a little bit.
Okay, let's frame it though first, Josh, because I know you got thoughts, but let's frame it first. So you're talking OUA, that's the Ontario University Athletics Volleyball League, versus Can West Volleyball League. All-star teams, one team, one match, best of 5. Who wins is the premise here. So I got to chirp the premise immediately and say, well, what about Quebec and the Eastern provinces? Like, we totally forget them, or they're just out? What? Do they get their own team?
Well, I did get a few messages after my comment about Carl de Grandpré and how I claimed that I wasn't that impressed that a 25-year-old was the best player in the country one year. But so we may have a future guest ready to defend that, Garrett. I can't confirm or deny these rumors, but I kind of agree with what Zane was implying there, that nobody cares, Garrett.
Okay, so I like it. Baiting our listeners. Baiting the listeners to say, hey, come on the show and defend yourself. Otherwise, apparently these guys are going to shit all over you. So
Montreal, Laval, UNB, Dal. I don't even know if those guys make an OUA all-star team. So that's...
What do those teams look like right now? Like,
wow.
Is everyone gone after COVID? Like,
wow.
Who's still there?
Wow.
That's what I think is a good starting off point if you're going to try to put it into an East-West kind of situation.
Unbelievable that you two are bringing that heat this early in the episode. Are you kidding me? That is a sharp cut right there. So if you're from out east or Quebec, hit us up in the comments and tell these guys that they're complete idiots. I will not do it because we have bigger fish to fry. We're talking OUA versus Can West, and let's get into it because, well, first of all, I'm going to make a sharp cut and say that just because of what you two said, a Quebec AUS team would beat both those teams. But we'll leave that there for now because we're not talking about that. We're talking about Can West versus OUA. So, well, let's weigh in. What are you thinking?
I'm surprised he brought up this topic because when he said it to me, Garrett, I don't even think it's close. But then I was looking and Zane won Canada Games. He's won OUAs. He did well in the OVA circuit. So maybe he's got some inside information. But you're telling me if we combine my guy, Jordan Canham from Alberta, you throw on Colton from UBC and Matt Dahaniak, I don't even know if I'm saying his last name right, with all the Trinity guys who are basically Team Canada, that this is going more than 3 sets? Like, is this not like a 25-14 slap, bang, bang, like hour and shower? Like, I don't even know if this is a competition, Garrett.
You know, I have no idea who those people are you mentioned. So I think that's maybe my problem going on. I think maybe I speak for the listener, though, who maybe has no idea. They know the league, they just don't know the players. So I'm going to come at this argument with that perspective. I guess, Zane, you asked the question because you thought the OUA would have some sort of chance, right?
Yeah, I think we could put up a fight. I think like as the OUA, there's definitely some super strong talent out there. Obviously, CanWest has some exceptional talent, but I don't think it's going to be a 3-0 slap. I think there'll be a bit of a fight. I think maybe like a 3-1, maybe a fifth set. I think if you put together the right roster, get some Ian Ebbett in there to build up some chemistry, like you never know what can happen. So it's all about the culture piece. So you got to think about maybe you got coaches coming in who can help out. I know the coaches in the West are stacked, but at the same time, there's some up and coming guys in the East in the OUA who could be really strong.
Wow. Brings up the premise. Sells out his own squad.
Whoa, not a full sellout.
Doesn't even think you could compete and get the win. Wow. I mean, I was ready to jump all over this, but I'm shocked that you both are saying that. Like, I feel like I have to take the other side now just to defend Ontario, even though I am in the CanWest currently and neither of you two are.
So Ontario would have Zane. I think he'd have Pickett. I think he'd have Eric from Queens. Like, I think there are some pieces, but like Jackson Howe is an absolute unicorn. The Elser brothers at Trinity. Like, there's just, the list goes on and on and on, I think, out West, where maybe it is going to be closer than I think it would be, but I don't think the outcome's in doubt. I think we're talking spread here, Garrett, if you're a gambler. I don't think you're talking win-loss, because the win-loss is confirmed for me.
Again, you naming names, though, is really not helping anybody in the argument here. I mean, I have no idea who you're talking about.
Me and Zane know what we're talking about, and probably our four listeners.
You brought up some good names there, but like I'm thinking like you're having Eric, Sam Cooper, guys fresh off J&T squad who are up and coming. You got guys like Evan Filardo on the pin and Logan House. Like I've played with like a few of these guys and I know what they're capable of. So I definitely think you can get some good like individual matchups for sure, especially on the pins. I think the middle is a really tough one, going against the out west guys who like literally represent Canada on international stages. But you got guys like Hayden Cavender, you got guys like a vet like Jack Patterson, Dax Tompkins.
Yeah,
like
again,
you got a bunch of new guys.
With the naming names, you guys, like, comment down below if you have any idea who any of these people are. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I think the CanWest's like third string all-star team, like you make 2 or 3 all-star teams, then that fourth all-star team is pummeling Ontario's number 1 team. 100%.
Okay, that's quite disrespectful.
100%.
Now we've got a game. Now we've got a game.
100%.
Played Western Mustangs, Jackson Beer. Like he's at like. You're really just gonna say that right there?
100%. Like, I have no doubt in my mind. Like, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, and I think that's what people will say is when you look at the results of who wins these games head to head. Well, what are we even talking about here? Like, it's not even close. There's no comparison. Like,
okay. If you throw it back, maybe okay. How about not now, but a few years ago when you were in your prime and Mac was dominant? If you think you put it together, an all-star cast from that year, do you think you have the ability to beat an all-star CanWest team?
So it's Garrett, it's Danny, it's Steve Marr.
Are you putting up a fight then, or do you think it now you're part of this mix? So let's see how polar you are in this.
Yeah, like Mac couldn't beat me. Like. They were stacked, and they couldn't beat me with a bunch of guys in the timeout would just yell, "Let's fucking go!" That was our timeouts. So they're not beating them, and then we get in the final against an Alberta team with my brother on it, and then, okay, we lose to them. I don't even think we're winning that game if you put me on Mac. Like, no.
You don't think you on Mac would compete against, like, your brother, Walsh, Riley Barnes? Like, you don't think you plus the Mac guys beat Alberta?
The Mac guys couldn't beat our team.
Okay, hold on. They did beat you guys.
Well, not in the semifinal of
not in the semifinals of nationals, but didn't they beat you in the OUA final?
So let me tell you something about that I've learned since I've gotten here is everyone in CanWest, this includes Manitoba, Saskatchewan, all the provinces, they go, oh yeah, nobody cares about the CanWest finals. Well, you guys care about OUAs? Who cares? Like, nobody cares at all. And so it's like, oh yeah, every year that's a huge win in Ontario when we realize like, oh, like nobody cares. Like, That like, am I wrong?
I don't know. I have trouble believing that no one cares about the championship of your province. That's a pretty big, like, I guess when Trinity dominates, it's hard to really care.
Well,
You're
like,
supposed to
so
be playing for a berth.
all
but
the other provinces go, well, we got multiple provinces in our championship, and then we go to nationals, and that's the thing that cares. You got one province, and you're competing for the win, and then you send, like, you're going to win nationals. Like, who cares about the province? Like, that's what a lot of people say. I don't know. I tend to agree. Maybe it's something about me moving out west now. I'm getting some of that West Coast vibe over here.
fully assimilated.
I'm trying to earn some brownie points as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Fair.
So Zane, if nationals hadn't been paused last year because of the whole COVID thing, and we're not going to get into it because we are a volleyball show, like what was the mood around Queens going into that tournament? Like, were you guys talking medal or were you talking finals?
The conversation was definitely medal. We in my years there, we kind of had a progression of what's our next goal, and I think the next one for us was medal. Coming in ranked third, and we were playing Mac, who we beat in a semifinal and the quarterfinal. So we were feeling pretty strong about playing for a medal, and I think we played Trinity earlier that year and lost 25-13 each set. So I feel like I'm kind of hurting my own point from before. Garrett, stop nodding. But yeah,
just keep talking because it's helping me.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I definitely think there was an opportunity to medal for us. I can't speak for the other teams, but I think you can't really go in without expecting to medal unless you kind of beat yourself before.
I mean, good for you for getting the third seed, because the nobody caring about Ontario, nobody would get a seed above 5. If you're from Ontario, you're getting a bottom half seed. Even if you win, you're getting the 4th seed every time. So I mean, good for you. Sorry we didn't get to play that out, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you would have lost, because that's just terribly rude. Who knows? You could win. I mean, we've had teams win and do well. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when you look at the depth and the peak that you get from the Can West, we just can't compete. I've lived through the OUA, and I'm thinking about guys we have starting guys on decent teams in the OUA. And you're like, How is this person even a volleyball player? The type of thing that they're bringing on some of these teams.
It's not that bad.
Josh,
Yeah.
No, we need to raise our standards on this show. It is absolutely that bad. You got guys who can't hit around a double block. They can't do it.
Okay, so Garrett, I knew you weren't planning on probably watching OUA volleyball this year, but definitely don't with how things are, I think, shaping up. Probably won't live up to your really high expectations.
Well, no, I just need to see somebody go up and hit a P2, go up and hit it around a double block. You don't need to score. Just hit it around. Don't only tool line. That can't be your only shot.
I like Zane's smile, because when I did watch OUA, and this was even before the break, Zane, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I got on Abrams about this when we were on the show. I think the OUA, once the first swing, the first attempt on side out is over, it turns into this tip, continue the rally, let's recycle, let's try to get a block, let's let our defense work. Did Queens talk about that? Is U of T talking about that? We're just oh, we don't want to make errors. Errors are the enemies. Let's just hit as a bunch of continues until somebody makes an error on the other side, or we block them.
Yeah, that's a funny one, because it definitely is talked about. It's we want to recycle as much as possible.
What?
And just
What?
Yeah. Yeah, if we're not in ideal situation, I think we're aiming for a recycle. We're not giving them an option. But how can you not trust
God.
How can you not trust your block defense? You know what I mean? Why?
Because that's not. Oh my gosh, it makes so much sense now.
To score. First option, obviously, is you want to score every time.
Yes.
Right? You're not playing volleyball unless that's the goal. But if the situation isn't there, I think what the coaches in the OUA are saying is, let's put ourselves in a favorable situation to score. And I think that's happening everywhere. I think you're saying that, if you say otherwise, you're not describing volleyball.
No. The style is definitely very different. And this is probably why I'm saying Can West is so much better. You see the occasional tip from those teams in an attempt to score. But if there's a high ball situation, you're going to score. You're hitting it. Mm-hmm. In Ontario, it's oh yeah, we got to set up trust our block defense. What do you think a side out percentage on a free ball tip is? Probably 80%.
Yeah, should be.
Whereas if you have a left side hitting 30%, and that's 50%, maybe they get a few errors, you have a half 50-50 chance of scoring on that point if they take a swing. Most of my kills in my career are on terrible sets.
You gonna call out your setter like that?
No. like not in system. Like I'm getting
Like
jacked
broken
up
plays.
something from somebody else that it's like nobody thinks this is a big play. I take a risk and score. Like that's volleyball. Like you watch international, nobody's tipping, and when they do, they score because it's an attack. Like it's funny you say that you talk about it because you see it and it's like, well, I mean, there it is.
Yeah, I think it just goes like I agree with you, but at the same time, like when you think about the OUA and how many teams there are in the province, you're not going to get as deep of a roster with guys who are as physical to be able to do that successfully. You maybe get one or two guys, a left side or right side, who can swing on any ball and score, or at least put yourself in a better situation. But when you go out west, what do you got? Two universities per province? Where does the talent go? If you have good talent, you're all going to the same school. So most guys might be able to do that. But you're right, like in the OUA, it's so dense with all the schools. How are you going to fill out a roster where everyone can do that? Obviously, you got to try to switch and play to your personnel. I don't think it's any worse. Well, obviously it'd be ideal if like you could, but I don't know. I just like think it's very different between Can West in terms of how deep their rosters are and OUA schools just because of that.
It just breaks my heart to hear this, Garrett, that you want your P2 to be like an even or not a minus at the end of the game, where when the Shermers hosted that Can-Am thing, I got to hear the Ohio State coach talk, and they're talking to the NCAA, the biggest thing between winning and losing is your kill percentage. So they're going to get kills. Kills win games, and they're being aggressive, and they're going for it, where it sounds like the talent pool's not there, the roster's not there, where if you're a P2 in the OUA right now, just be even at the end of the game. Even if you make 2 errors, if you have 2 kills, pat yourself on the back, go back and serve receive, hit some more continues, and you're a good player in this league, where that kind of breaks my heart, Garrett.
Yeah, well, let me tell you a story about our P2, my roommate in university, Doug Ostrom. Shout out, Doug. He was our P2 and could hand pass. He was the classic OUA P2. Hand pass, hit line. Like, that's just the classic, right? And it got so bad that one game at Windsor we played, and they peeled on him in system. If we set him in system, they would call down and peel. He's getting a good set and just feasting. And he hit on the game. He probably went 5 for 10 with no errors. But 5 times they had a guy just standing up in one, just hand digging a feast on him. And I don't know, that was obviously stupid. Like, you can't have him go 5 for 10, but they had the balls to go down on our P2.
I've never seen that. I've seen down on C balls. And I don't know if that happens in the OUA much. It definitely happens in club a lot. I have never seen the front row say down, 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 down on a P2.
Yeah, it was incredibly stupid, and it did not work out. Obviously. What do you mean? How is that anyway? But I think that goes to show like the type of caliber we're getting. But I think it all comes back to my point. If the talent is so spread out in all the schools, then you put together an all-star team. Well, like I don't understand. Like, you're doing the same thing in Can West. If the talent is focused, but they're doing the same thing. Like, that makes no difference. And the style here is just, like we've said, I absolutely detest the tip recycle. It is just such it's a gut punch. I think we've solved it. I think we've solved it. I mean, any rebuttals?
I just don't think it's going to be as big as you're thinking it is. I'm thinking if you're doing that, you're putting together all those guys with that kind of play style, that swing first mentality. I don't think it's an absolute blowout. Could be totally off the mark, but I think it's close.
Yeah, like some of the stuff those Can West teams do, like when they get really good and they do at their peak, is pretty cool. And I don't see any of that stuff coming from Ontario. Like, you're running combinations, you're running stuff in system, these guys are ripping. That's the other thing, too, the style difference. OUA is a float serve first league. It's like 80% floats. And Can West, you got at least half the team ripping tough spin serves because they're just used to it. That's just the style, right? And the floats in Ontario I've found aren't that great. I don't know. I'll leave that up to, well, maybe you don't pass, Zane. I don't know. But, I mean, I'll leave that up to you guys.
No, I'm just familiar with watching balls fall off the tape and land, and then
that's your ball.
That's my ball.
Okay, so that would never happen if we put together an all-star team. There'd be no net flipper dropping, but I don't know.
You'd be surprised. All the guys from especially Trinity, they all hybrid serve now, and that's something we definitely don't do in Ontario, and that is something that puts them at like a clear advantage. I remember we went out west and we saw that hybrid serve for the first time, and it was deadly. You have like Lepke ripping hybrid serves at you, like Jackson House float. Like it was tough for our passers just because you've never seen it before. So yeah.
Yep.
Surfing's definitely a difference.
Yeah, so I am a little bit disappointed that our topic on the show was to discuss an all-star game where we all three of us decide that the league we didn't come from is just pummeling us. And I'm sad to hear that. I will say, the last OUA game I watched, now this is maybe 4 years ago, was at U of T in Toronto in the beautiful gym. Went to see the men and women play. Because we got kind of a family connection on the U of T women's team. And I just figured I'd stay for the men because I think they were playing Western. So I was like, it's where I went. So I went and watched them play. And I think I saw probably the most tips in that men's game in the first set than I'd maybe ever seen in any game I've ever watched. And it was like, you'd have a tip battle, like where both teams are just tipping it back and forth to see who can out-tip the other guy, and then the rally ends on a tip error. Like, what a terribly unentertaining game and bad volleyball. Is that still how it's happening?
That was a great spectator sport. That must have been fun and riveting. That must have been
good rally. Good rally.
What? No, not good rally. It's a tip.
Yeah.
The guy tip, pass, set, tip. Nobody's having fun.
When Zane's in the back row, he's probably going to average about 9 digs every 3 rotations, I think, because everyone's just going to try to take out the setter, out the setter on all these tips, right?
Yes, take out the setter, high ball, tip to the setter. Like,
yeah,
let's pad our continues here, boys, and get the setters a ton of digs.
In my first year, I had Marcus Trentz as my right side, and he was just like the biggest guy. Like him and Lucas Coleman were like by far the biggest guys in the OUA at that time. And literally everyone didn't want to hit against him, so they just tipped over the block every time. And I think I got, in my entire career, the most amount of digs I had was that year, because I would just sit under the block and just pick up balls, and we would just run like tempo from the back row to our pins. But I hear what you're saying. It's definitely a frequent thing in the OUA. I don't know if coaches are super happy about it. I think it's like we might see a shift with the new talent coming in, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, is that what your coaches are telling you? Like, I mean, you're playing for 2 different schools now. I never did that. I only played for 1 school. So you get kind of a unique perspective, I think, when you, like, change schools, right? You play for 2 different coaches, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 if you had some changeover in your coach while you were at Queens. Was it the same coach?
Yeah, I had Brenda Willis in my first year, and then Gabe DeGroot.
Yeah, okay.
My third, fourth.
You've had 3 different university coaches. And are, like, they encouraging the team to, like, if you're in a bad position, to tip continue?
I think there's people who have the green light to go, and there's definitely people who don't.
Everywhere, like everybody's got their favorites. It's like, hey, you could take a swing, but you better not, or you're off the team.
I think, but I don't. It's not discussed like that. It's like, this is your role, okay? So we're gonna play within our role, and it's gonna help the team, and it's all about the team at that point, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's, you got your big guys ripping on balls, you try to get them. They probably, how many balls is the P2 really getting in any situation? Like, ideally in a good offense, you're not feeding your P2 in-system balls. And if it is, it's hopefully one-on-one where they can put the ball away, right? So
interesting
at the end of the day,
philosophy you got there on the P2.
Yeah, like if you're greenlighting your P1 and your right side, in-system, out-of-system, that's fine. Why do you need your P2? Your P2 is not getting the bulk of the volume. Hopefully you have good middles and a pipe attack. Like, you don't need that.
Hey, in my first year, I was P2, and I had the majority of the sets on the team. So, I mean, now
Who was the P1 over you?
Yeah, I mean, just Reed Halpenny was the P1 over me.
Right.
I mean, again, though, that's the thing is, like, over you. Like, there's some sort of position battle. Like, somebody, like you said, somebody got the green light. Like, coaches actually telling somebody, hey, this is your role. Your role is not going for kills when you get a high ball. Like, is that... Because I'd be going for it. If I was P2 and coach is like, hey, your role is the P2, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to pass. But if I get set, I'm going for glory, coach.
Right, but if you're off the net against a triple, are you telling me you're swinging 100% at the block, or are you doing something? You are known for your craftiness.
Off the net on the triple is the best spot to be in because you will always have a chance to go around it. That's my point here. Nobody can do that. Like, if you're off the net and the triple goes, like, you always have a shot. Like, you always have a lane.
like straight to the defender who's why the triple's there to just funnel a ball to your like the libero? Like,
Hey,
what do you mean?
you wouldn't believe the amount of liberos who aren't digging 75% hits their direction. Like you could hit 50% on that type of ball. Like it's unbelievable.
All right, I might have to bring that back to my team then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or the other one on the triple block for anyone who's listening is where does 6 go? If 6 is sliding into the corner, then that means you have the 75% shot to 1-6 that you can hit and nobody's there. Over the block, just dropping in the court there to the left of the setter or player in position 1, you got open court there. Scored a lot of points on that one too.
No one ever shifted to that side after seeing you do it every time?
Well, if they did, then I had the corner. Then I had the other corner. They had to pick one or the other, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Hopefully your triple's taking away some of that space.
No, absolutely not. Triples.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what are they taking? Like, I'm going high. You're not going to touch me.
Yeah. I remember at Queens when we played against Xander. Xander was obviously the biggest guy in the league. He just hit over blocks all the time. We literally just sat our left side in the like outside of the court and waited for him to go over top or around. And anything that was like trying to move around the block was a roll or it was a hard shot that was just easily dug by our left side in system can run pipe. But I think like there's ways around it. I think like if you don't try to be crafty with tipping and roll shots and stuff into the pot, like that's where the open space is. That's technically what the triple's taking away.
Yep.
So if you're not using that, you might get game planned really hard. And that's how we had some success against Xander specifically. Still probably went off for like 24 kills because it's Xander. But at the same time, it's like we probably stopped him a lot more than he could have gone for.
So 24 kills is a successful stop.
Against Xander in his first year?
Yes, like 24 in a...
Sorry, not 24 kills. Maybe like 20 points.
That's a shitload of points. Like, how many sets are you playing? Like, I averaged in my best year 5 points a set. In my best year.
Yeah. All our games went 5 with Ryerson.
Okay, but still, 20 points on a 5-set match is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, your players dream for that.
You're talking about the MVP of the league. He was a first-team All-Canadian. Like, he's playing pro now. Like, talking about one of the best guys in the league at the time.
Yeah, well,
I think that's...
listen, I'm just here to complain, okay, Zane? Like, have you seen the show before? Like, I mean, clearly not, because you're not going to get anything positive from me. Definitely not about Ontario volleyball, that's for sure.
I gotta try. Funny enough, when I was we were at the banquet for nationals, and Xander's stats came onto the board. We were sitting right beside the Trinity Western table, and I remember a couple of the guys saw his stats and they looked at us. They were like, "Do you guys ever block against this guy?" I was like, "We really tried. I don't know what to tell you."
He's got 700 attempts on the year, and he's got 400 kills. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, no, we definitely got some looks like that from Trinity. We just had no answer. Just like, hey, like we did what we could.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I think we can move on. I think we've solved though that. I mean, we're all fans of the Can West over Ontario, and we're confident in their abilities. So if you're listening and you're from out west, I mean, congrats. Congrats for you. Hit that subscribe button. Like, I don't know what else really to tell you in this moment. So I did have something else I wanted to bring up, because before the show we were talking, and you said something that kind of triggered me a little bit, and I want to kind of dive into it. You mentioned your rookies. You said my rookies, and I said, hey, let's pause that, because I want to dive into that, because I'm not sure what it meant, but it definitely brings up some emotion in me. So I'm curious, what did you mean by that?
Just the rookies on the team.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing.
Are you
nothing...
assigned rookies? Are you responsible for like a certain player's behavior to help them as like a big brother? Like, are you guys like, do you have a mentorship thing set up? Or when you say my rookies, do you mean a specific guy, or like any of the first years are your rookies?
No, I mean like as a team, like we all take care of each other, whether you're a transfer student who's a 5th year, or like I'm technically a rookie on my team as well. So like I'm with those guys. So it's like my guys like.
That is horseshit.
What?
Like, what? Did you just say the words, you're technically a rookie too?
Yeah, well, at
You're
the end
not.
of the day, no.
You're
okay.
back-to-back champion in the league. You transfer to team. It's like, hey, carry my bag, rookie.
But But here's the thing, that doesn't happen anymore. I don't know what happened with you, Garrett, when you were in the league.
Okay.
Yeah, I
we
know.
cannot
back in
get into
ancient
what happened to me. So
yeah, long time ago. No,
well,
but
not that
seriously,
long ago, Zane.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. Come on.
I was like a little kid watching you play when you were in U Sports. So like I was like
Damn.
really little. So I was young. So
Damn.
Either way, yeah, I think the times are definitely different. It's not like the separation between rookies and guys on the team like isn't really there as much.
Right, but like the term, like even if I'm just curious because is everybody call the first year players like my rookies, like these are our rookies, like is that?
Yeah, like I think it's like a collective thing. There's not much weight behind that term, I don't think.
Okay, well, because it's still used and it was used back then, and I know people used to be assigned rookies, and there's like, no, that's your rookie, like 1-to-1, like.
Oh, really?
You're kind of responsible for this guy, and it was kind of good. It was well intentioned, I think. I just hate the term rookie. Like I absolutely hate that term, especially when it comes to like volleyball. Like you're in your first year and maybe you've played club for like 7 years potentially in your first year playing volleyball. And maybe there's a second year guy who only played for 3 years and now you're a rookie and that guy is your vet. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
Do you think it's comparable, like the OVA gap to OUA?
Well, absolutely. What are you talking about?
Is the mentorship just volleyball, or is it a guy to help you? I don't know, maybe you're matched up in the same program, or maybe they can show you around campus, or maybe there's some other stuff to it, or is the whole goal just volleyball?
Yeah. At least from what I mean, again, maybe you're right. Maybe things have gotten better in, I guess, the 9 years that I've been out of it. But it just triggered me because, like, and you're part of that rookies group on your current team.
Yeah, just incoming. It's more of just like a term of incoming athletes.
Yeah.
It doesn't carry the same weight. Like when I was in first year, like in my first year, there was definitely a little bit of a divide between like the vets and the rookies. Like the rookies didn't have a ton of like power and decisions, or like we had a lot of the jobs, like we had rookie jobs. Like that was something we had, and it was like nothing outside. It was just like in terms of volleyball, it's like you had certain things to do and you did them, and it was what it was. But as soon as Gabe came in, he like shut that down so fast. It was like we're all equal parts in this team, and we just like that was the biggest difference in our culture. And I like now that I'm at U of T, it's a very similar thing. So it's no more of that like super hierarchy. I can't speak for every team, but at least on the 2 teams I've played on now, that's been a big shift and difference.
I mean, snaps for progress. I mean, Gabe, great move there. I love to hear that because it just boils my blood to think that like a first-year player coming in would in any way feel unwelcome in a team environment that they had to try out for and earn a spot on. You know what I mean? Like, and you mentioned rookie jobs. We had that too. Like I'm picturing back myself filling up the water bottles before a game that I'm about to start in. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this makes absolutely no sense. Like, fill up your own water bottle, do your own stuff. Like, everybody sit at the net type thing. Like, so if there's any teams out there, get your shit together. Get rid of the rookie duties. Everybody's in this together. First year players, welcome them with open arms. That's my soapbox for the episode.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to ask, Zane, did anybody welcome you to U of T? Like, was there like any formal? Because Gary, when you were on Passin Dimes, anyone wants to go listen to that. Like you mentioned, rookies, sometimes they're not pulled aside. Even if the coach just wants to go up to them, hey man, glad you're here. Like if you need anything, let me know. Like those conversations don't happen very often, at least not that I'm aware of. So Zane, first with U of T, was there any like formal welcoming process or anybody talk to you? And did it happen at Queens when you were like a true like 18-year-old first year?
Yeah, for U of T recently, I remember it was during COVID. So I basically accepted my master's and then told John that I was coming to U of T, and I got the first team meeting I was on with all the U of T guys, and none of them knew basically. So he gave a little bit of an introduction for that. But our first, and all the rookies who signed that year were there too. So John went through and introduced everyone and made sure it was like a pretty like informal kind of chat, just so everyone can get to know each other. Queens, it was just show up at training camp. Hey, like, how's it going? Like, more so my first year with Brenda, it was a lot of just like, okay, we're here, let's go. And that was it. And then kind of the vets on the team told us like, okay, so being a rookie, this is what you're doing. And like, this is like the dynamics and stuff. And it was just kind of more like informed that way. But in years after with Gabe, it was very different. It was like a big formal welcoming when they came on their recruiting visits. It was a big thing. So yeah, a little different in each spot. I'm sure every team does it differently. I don't know. Garrett, did you have something different?
Absolutely. 100%. And I'm not sure how much I really want to talk about what we did on our team, because like I don't think it's great, and I don't want to like sell out the program a little bit, but my first practice, my very first practice. So I had a bit of a weird thing too, is like I went to the team and didn't practice because I was training for the Worlds, the Beach Worlds that were that year. This is 2010. So I go to the Beach Worlds and win the Junior World Championship, and then come back to my indoor team. And Jim goes, hey, Garrett, we'd like you to give a little, speech to the guys just about, winning and being world champion. And I'm like, are you serious? This has to be a joke. And he's like, no, like, come on, we really want to do it. I'm like, all right, fine. So I get up there and I'm going to speak, and one of the guy goes, hey, speak up, we can't hear you. I'm like, okay. And then I go to start into this ad-lib speech, and they all just leave and run and start practice while I'm just standing there. And I'm like, great, practical joke, boys. Like, now I feel super welcomed to the team. Not like I've never even met half of you. Like, such a weird entrance to the team for me. So I've got some bad memories when it comes to that stuff.
I just don't like, not to be that guy. I just don't understand how like hazing or bullying or rooking someone helps us win games. Like, I understand that you don't want a first year coming in thinking he's the big shooter, and you got to like pay your dues in a little bit. I just never understood why that stuff helps you win games. Like there's Garrett and I know people who have gone to university and they have to drink, or they have to, run around naked, or they have to do scavenger hunts. And I'm like, I just don't understand how that transfers to us being a better team and helps us win games, which should be the goal, right?
Well, I will say there might be some value in that on the court. Like, if a kid comes in and is like thinking they're hot shit because they maybe got an all-star at the 18U championship, and now you're playing with men, there could be some value there in like, physically putting them in their place on the volleyball court, like if it's possible. You know what I mean? Like, if the team is that much better, like, hey, no, and you get blocked, or hey, let them know, like, hey, no, we that can't fly here in the men's game, like, or whatever, right? But off the court, it can't be that. You know what I mean? Like, it absolutely cannot be that in any way.
Like, I think to an extent that's probably okay, but it doesn't, like, even like just getting like down on people to put them in their place, like, what is that accomplishing? Like, to let them know physically on the court, like, how does that accomplish anything besides just like breaking down their confidence? Well, these are people who are new, young, like, they're trying to get their foot in, they're like ambitious, and you know what, you go block them and you're chirping them through the net. I can't see that helping either.
Well, let me use an example then, because being mean never really is great. But for example, when you got somebody coming in who, we had a guy, I won't name him, but we had a guy come in who was like super chummy, was like really involved with the team right away, and which was great. And so everybody was kind of okay with that. But on the court, just constantly kept really making dumbass mistakes that kind of impacted the drill type thing. You know what I mean? And so holding a firm, high standard with that sort of thing, especially with like new people coming in who need to get socialized to what you're doing in practice, I think can go a long way. Like, if you just kind of, oh no, it's okay, like, hey, nice try, like, it's like, well, maybe that's not as effective as like, hey, what are you doing? Like, get to where you need to be with like a quick boom, let them know, and then let's move on type thing. Could be beneficial. That's more my style. I don't know.
Is that not happening in practice, Zane? We kind of talked before the show that the COVID pause wasn't a good experience for everybody, and some people are looking a little rusty. Like, what is the mood around practice when guys don't know the rotation, or they're not, I don't know, the front row wing guy isn't peeling off and playing defense the right way? Like, are they being addressed by peers, or is that really the coach's job because of the mood you want to establish at practice?
Yeah, I think it's definitely like peer led. Like, I think it needs, like, you can get on someone for not doing something, but you can never get on them for doing something that you won't do yourself. So it's like, be positive, reinforce them, make sure like, hey, I see you trying, like, and like be as positive as you can be. But at the same time, like, the best way you're going to get them into that habit is by doing it yourself. And I think like when I played with Zach Hutchison at Queens, he was the best role model. He would always give you positive reinforcement and like try to support you, but we'd also grind the entire game, letting you know like this is the standard. No one needed to say anything about like you need to do this. This is our level of play. Like, you're not cutting it. It was, I'm putting my body out on the line. You're seeing it every day. You need to do the same. And it's just like that kind of just rubs off on people. So maybe the direct approach could be a little bit shorter. Not so much my style, maybe your style, but yeah, I definitely think like there's a difference in that.
Well, it's a good segue because it does lead me to the May versus Grossinger style. I will say the Grossinger family, a lot nicer, a lot more pleasant, a lot more polite to be around than the Mays traditionally. I mean, traditionally, we'll see what some of these young Mays up and coming are like, but traditionally that's the case. I've been meaning to ask you, Zane, because it's not often I get the chance to talk to people who kind of come from whose parents played volleyball and were kind of involved in the scene and kind of grew up in that and had to deal with that like I did, right? I mean, there's a handful of us, I think, whose parents are like OGs, or at least in the Toronto community or the Ontario community. So I'm curious because tell me if you got this a ton. You're a kid, you're growing up, you meet some old fart. You're a kid, so they're an old fart to you. And they come and they go, oh yeah, I used to play with or against your dad. Like, oh yeah, it was great. Like, how often are you getting that when you walk around as a young Zane?
All the time. Like, but no. The funniest part though about it is sometimes it's not even like people just coming up to me. Like, I like sat on the bench of like my brother's team when they played, and my dad was my brother's coach. So like I always got to travel around. Yeah. But my dad is funny in the sense, like, he's one of the most extroverted people I know. Oh, yeah. And he would go out of his way to be like, hey, I got to introduce you to someone that I played against. And then...
Wait, so like he's got to introduce you so that person can tell you about playing with him when he was a kid, when he was young.
Yeah, just about their experiences playing against each other or with each other. And, like, I'm, like, probably, like, 8 years old and don't remember many of the names. But at the same time, I was like, you just kind of sit there and nod and... Yeah, like my dad had a good volleyball career and he's played with a lot of people and coaching and stuff. He's super happy about all that. So he loves to like be like, hey, have you met this person? Like, come here.
So yeah. What are you getting though? Because for me, it was the same thing every time when I'm meeting these people. I don't know these people.
Oh, really?
It's the same thing. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, I used to play against your dad. Quite the mouthpiece he had on him. Pretty much every time. And I'm like, same response. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Like, yeah, not like him at all. I don't know. Like, every single person would say that to me, though. Is it the same with you and Howie?
Yeah, like, I think because I was so young when I was going through it at first, everyone only said positive things. So I haven't heard any of the chirps or anything. Like, I have to assume, like, I'm hoping my dad was chirping back then. Like, I don't know, but I would like them to cause some trouble. But
well,
yeah,
but that's not what they would say about Howie. They'd come to you and say, oh, your dad's such a great guy, probably.
Yeah, like, it was like, he's great, like, he was a great competitor, really, like, he had good hands. I'm like, thanks.
Okay,
like,
you're getting the good hands. Yeah, nobody's saying my dad had good hands.
Oh, no one?
Yeah, they used to say, yeah, he couldn't jump over a credit card. Sorry, I'm chirping him while he's not here. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because it's true. I mean, I guess if you don't have like a volleyball parent and you kind of grew up in that, you don't really know what that's like. I'll tell you a funny story because you brought up Ian Ebbett earlier. And I don't know if I've told this story on the show, but so I'm young. I'm at my brother's tournament. My dad's coaching. And I guess Ian was there coaching a younger team. So Ian's the guy, I don't know if he still does this, but at Madawaska did like the hand raise thing, whoa, where everybody's like yelling and stuff. I mean, obviously, Zane, but for our listeners, and I don't know. He led that. Does he still do that?
Actually, he's not at Madawaska anymore,
Okay.
but up until the end, he was definitely doing that.
Yeah, like everyone is cheering basically how high his hands are. So that's the only I had of him. I'm 14. I went to Madawaska for 1 year, and that's the guy. And so I'm at this tournament, and Dad goes, "Hey, Garrett, come here. Let me introduce you to Ian Ebbett." And I go, "Hey, Ian, nice to meet you." And he goes, "Oh, no, yeah, we've met. No, Madawaska. Yeah, we like, definitely. Yeah, good to see you again." And I was like, no, we didn't. Like, I don't know you. He's like, no, yeah, like Madawaska, we just, and I was like, okay, I don't remember that though. And my dad immediately was like, you trying to pretend like you knew my son and you actually didn't? It was super awkward, but I guess we laughed about it afterwards because he was like, I mean, yes, I absolutely did. That was great.
No, there's definitely hundreds of kids who cycled through there. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember having my dad in volleyball. I just got started off really young, like going to watch, I guess, like at games and stuff. I think I was like 8, like watching my brother play, whatever. It was like Sergei Grabovsky, Steve Marr, Cole. Like it was that squad.
Yeah.
And I remember like in between sets, my dad would be like, "Hey, like let's just go to the side for a second." I'm like, "Okay." He would like pull out a volleyball and he would start just like hitting balls at me, and I'd be digging. And people would be like looking. Like I have a vivid memory of me at like Sherbrooke Nationals when like my brother was 16, and I was just like digging balls in the corner, like trying to get my platform right. But like definitely having a volleyball parent was like, that was young. I started out. I don't know how it was for you, but that was definitely for me something that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Because my dad, my biological father, sorry, I mean, we need to be clear on that. He used to run the only tour, national beach volleyball tour this country's ever seen, for our listeners out there. Next time he's on the show, though, let's not bring that up and really feed his ego. Let's kind of keep that. But he used to run that, and so that was his job for a while. And so when I was a kid, like, that was what he was doing for a living. So we'd go often because my mom also like kept the books for that. So we're going to all these tournaments, like road trips, whatever. And I just have vivid memories of like at 5 years old, 6 years old, being on a backcourt, like trying to jump serve on the backcourt, like just wailing at it, but having some success. Very young, like on the backcourt while they're playing the finals on the main court, and Reed's just like making a sandcastle or something beside because he's like very young. So yeah, absolutely. Like huge advantage, no doubt for me, like trying to become a great volleyball player, having a parent who was like super passionate about it. Right. Like, I mean, I didn't have an older brother though, as well. Cause I'm sure you got some benefits of like him being the first crack at it, and you get to watch him and go, okay, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do that. Right.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a lot of that. I think my brother had a lot of injuries, so he was like, it was tough. And even in his, like, he played with you in your last year at Western. So I was definitely, I think for me, it was more of a, like, definitely a role model. Like, I wanted to follow his path. I like Western, like growing up, I was like, when I saw him go to Western, I was like, that's where I want to be. Like, I definitely want to go to Western. And then the cycle ended up not working out the way. They had both Hooker brothers there. And then I got the call for Brenda to be like, hey, we have one setter. We need another one. This might be a good spot for you. So it ended up working out like that. But yeah, Cole was always definitely, my brother was like a huge role model for me in terms of my path through volleyball.
You know what? Get that Grossinger nice shit out of here, Zane. You know what? I mean, this is Sharp Cuts. I mean, you guys saying your brother's your role model. Reed and I think to this day are like, we have this argument. You'll love this, Josh. We have this argument not every time, but often. 6 me's versus 6 you's. Who's coming out on top? And like, we have that argument genuinely. I think he genuinely is like, no, me. And I'm of course genuinely like, no, me. That's probably not an argument that's happening in the Grossinger household, I bet.
No, especially when neither of us are offensive, like in any capability on the court. We both don't jump very high, both setters. I feel like that's a hard conversation for us to have. We've talked about playing beach together and maybe against each other. My first year playoffs, I played against Cole because he rejoined the squad. And in our quarterfinal, his job was to track my setting distribution. So when we crossed the net, I was chirping a little bit.
That's
and he was
awful.
like, yeah, it was
That
tough,
is straight up awful. Jim, what are you doing? You're going to have the older brother track his younger brother, who's playing, by the way, setting tendencies. Come on.
Yeah.
That's harsh.
And we won that game, so I don't want to put the blame anywhere, but
Yeah. Cole, what are you doing, man? You blew it.
yeah. Maybe he was helping us out. I don't know, but it was definitely funny. And we've never been on the court at the same time before. When you played in the national final, was that your first time like playing against each other, or have you guys played against each other a ton?
First time. First time ever, yeah. Bro versus bro.
Yeah. Were you yipping each other across the net or what?
No. No, I mean, I think if it was more about us, like if the match was like very much about us,
Right.
I think we might have been, but it was not really about us. Kind of was about the rest of his team and the rest of my team. Like, so, anyway, that's ancient history, man. Nobody cares about that. If you care about that, hit that like button because nobody is doing that. I have one more thing I want to ask because I'm curious because this is maybe, how old are you, Zane? Are you maybe our youngest guest?
I'm 21.
Have we had anybody younger than Zane?
On sharp cuts, no. On passing dimes, yes. On sharp cuts, I don't think so.
I like the shallow plug, the subtle plug constantly for passing dimes. Please go.
Yeah, new
listen to
episodes
those.
every Friday. Check it out.
Listen to those if you haven't. Absolutely. Check out the Garrett May one. When are you going to have me on again, Josh? That's a different story. But what I wanted to hear, and I'm kind of curious because I've been out of it for so long, right? And spent a bunch of time in college and beach and stuff. What is kind of some of the trends in the indoor university culture that are weirding you out, that you're like, what is this? Why are we doing this? Like, because there's stuff that we did back in the day where even at the time I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. What are we doing? Like, I'll try to think of a good example, but I'm curious if anything sticks out in your mind as like, this is kind of weird that people have started doing this. What a tough
that's
question.
a good one. I got to think about that. I don't know, because I think everything like moving ever since my first year, it was always like, what do you guys want to do? And that's what we did. It was like super, like nothing like offside, none of that.
I mean like actually on the court, like in part of the game, like things that are done. Like, so I'll give you an example. Like back at the end line, when the other team is hitting, you're doing like that serve to each other thing. And every time somebody passes the ball, you go, ho, or something. Like a lot of teams used to do that. I don't know if they still do that. Is there weird stuff like that people are doing?
Okay, the weird one for me for sure is it was never on my team, but there were certain teams in the league when certain things happened in the game, they were doing different coordinated moves at the end of the court. So they were like in the box, the guys who were off.
Oh yeah.
They would like, okay, there's an error. We're going to do like 3 push-ups. And then they would all go. If there was like, if there was a missed serve, it was like, we're going to do like a, I don't know, like a jump, like plyo thing.
Wait, but so not like chirp, not like a cheer. They're actually doing like exercise.
Exercise to like stay warm, I guess.
So you don't have to name names, but I do, like, if I get it right, you got to give me a sign here. Windsor maybe was doing this. York was maybe doing this.
York was definitely doing it. I feel like
Actually, I don't remember them doing it. I have one team specifically in my head who definitely did it. But hey, like, they're good, so I couldn't.
Well, for some reason, I picture York doing like a big bow and arrow thing after an ace, like some of their box squad guys.
They had some coordinated celebrations for sure.
I like that. I do like that. The exercise though is like, not only are people confused, like everybody's missing the point here. Like, if it's a missed serve and you do a push-up, it's not a connection there for anybody involved, right? Whereas at least if you do like kind of some fun celebration thing, people get it, you know, like you're in the game. When you do a push-up, it just seems like you're off doing your own thing. You're not even paying attention.
Yeah, the celebrations on some teams have gone out of control. I remember one game, we had a celebration where a guy, I think there was like a massive block, like we got a huge block, and one of our young guys like went down and pretended to like fall, and like some guy like gave him like CPR and they like revived him.
Yeah, I love that though. No, I'm so about that.
After the game, we won that game. We had to send an apology letter to the other team for the excessive celebration.
No. Are you kidding me? In college with the George Brown team when I was coaching, we did all of that. We had like the dumbest celebrations. We'd yell the weirdest things. One of our cheers was Gurks Demandem. Does that mean anything to you?
Those are just sounds. I don't even know what you're saying. Those are just sounds.
It's 100% slang. And see, even I'm hip with the young kids. Yeah, Gerksen bad. Like that was what we'd yell all that stuff and do the. So I'm totally down for that. The one thing that bothered me though, and tell me if some teams still do this, is like after they're hitting warm up, they'd like just start yelling and come into a circle and just yell loud, ah! And then like it dispersed and go off and go back, like maybe, and even if they're hitting first, they just go back to the bench or whatever. Then the next team
like
comes
put on
in.
their jerseys like confidently after.
Yeah,
like, we're gonna get ready for the game.
Yeah, like it never made any sense to me. It always was a bit of a shock. Like as soon as everybody starts, it's like whoa, like what are you doing? Like do teams still do that, or are there weird things that are new that I don't even know about?
Well, the warm-ups changed, Garrett. When was the last time you saw a game? It's not like a 5-5 anymore, right, Zane? Like you get the full court to do whatever you want twice or something?
Yeah, there's no more shared court. I think it was for concussions and stuff. Too many people were getting hit. And like it was too many balls. So it's just like one team is on the court 5 minutes. They do their serve pass. And then 5 minutes the other team goes. And then 5 minutes the hitting warm up. And then 5 minutes the other team gets hitting warm up.
So 5-5-5-5.
Yes. I had to follow for a second.
The Masters U of T student had to add up.
Yeah. 5-5-5-5. Yeah, that is weird to me because like during serve and pass, like we never got serve and pass because the women's game always pushed right up against start time, and so there was never enough time. So now it's just 5. What do you do before 5-5-5-5?
It's usually like you're doing like pepper or whatever kind of dynamic warm up you're doing, but basically you got to get started before the women's game ends. So you kind of have to like predict when the game's going to finish. You either can have super like big confidence in your girls team, like they're going to pull this one out. We don't have to go. There's been times where it's like you're super confident and then it's a fifth set.
Yeah.
And you got to re-warm up. But yeah, it's definitely different.
I see the girls used to always say like, hey, why don't we ever get to play second? And every time I was like, I'm down, fully support it. Let's switch 100%. I would rather play first. Like, are you kidding me? I don't give a shit who's watching. Like, give me the full warm up. We play and then we're done. Like, there's no waiting around. Like, you see when you play. Like, you know, you don't want that. Like, the first game I feel like is an advantage. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know why it's always like that. I know some guys who really like the late games, but when you're playing like 1-3 o'clock, when you're playing at the 3 o'clock slot and it goes 5 sets, like you're getting out at 6, you kind of burned your whole day. So if you played at 1, at least you got some more time after, you know, if you got work to do or something like that.
Yeah.
I can get behind that. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
So coordinated sellies are okay, Garrett. I think is what we established. The push-ups, the exercise. I think the thing we need to solve is the down official needs a better job than just to go tweet, tweet, tweet and tell your guys to stop having fun and get back behind this imaginary line that they're not allowed to be in front
Don't even
of.
bring that up. It's like a nightmare, Josh. Are you kidding me? If you have not, listen, there are people maybe listening to the show who have no idea what we're talking about, and they don't know the horror that is that down ref tweeting you get behind the line. What an awful part of our sport. Like that
Zane doesn't understand this because he played too early in his career. He's never been a box squad guy, but it's so just disheartening to having such a good time. And then for this ref who has nothing to do because they're not calling the net all game, just to go tweet, 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 tweet. And you have to be quiet and you have to stand behind the line. It's just a fun sucker. That's all that ref does.
Yeah, but it's also like, I don't know, we had one of the rowdiest boxes of all time, I think, at Queens. And they would literally get told to like, okay, go back. Like my coach would be like, guys, go back. Like you need to go back. Next point. They're like on the court.
100%.
Like it didn't matter. Like it was just like, thank you for telling us that our celly had to end, but they're just going straight back out there the next point.
I fully agree with that. Like make the ref give you a card. Like absolutely. Like, and even then still do it. Cause like it's an absolute garbage rule. I will give up points, throw guys out. It like protesting this stupid, hey, you got to stay behind that line, which is 4 meters away from the court. You can't get any closer. Even if you're way back in the corner of the gym, nobody's ever going to get anywhere near you. The ref is standing closer to the action than these guys who he's telling to back up. Like, what are we doing?
I always felt that if one of the players on the court would run into somebody on the bench, that's our problem. I don't know why the ref was policing this distance or they had to be off the plane area. Like if we run into each other, we got some big problems going on that we can discuss that as a team. We don't need this third party official ruining the fun parts.
Yeah, we're probably already losing the point. So there's no need. Like, if we have guys running into each other who are off the court, we have already lost the point, maybe 2 points. Like, who knows?
Yeah, 100%. Man, we need to get a ref on this show. It's never going to happen, though. But we need one of them to defend themselves. It's never going to happen, though. I'm disappointed.
It has to be the worst part of the job, for sure. Having to do that.
Is what? Telling people to get behind the line? That must be the worst
it's like
part of the job.
babysitting. Like,
You must think when you're doing that, what am I even doing with my life? Like, but hey, if I could get paid to blow the whistle and tell people to get behind the line, I'd do that. Are you kidding me? It's a great job.
there you go. That might be your answer then.
Maybe I should be a ref, Josh. How difficult would it be for me to be a ref?
Well, to get to a university down official, you have to be like a regional or higher level badge. That's like a level 3, Gary. You'd have to really climb the ladder.
Yeah, like how long would that take me?
I think long.
I have competed in higher level matches than most of these officials will see in their lifetime. So with that context, how long would it take me?
I think you still got to start with like junior boys high school and really earn your stripes and
Fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe I'm a garbage ref, but what's the acceleration like?
I think you could get through your local badge in 1 year, your provincial in 1, and then the regional is like a serious program where you get evaluated for like 2 years, I think.
What? Like, no wonder we have a lack of quality officials is because they quit when they get to the regional because they're like, this is going to take too long. I got to get a better job.
We need an actual ref on the show because I'm pretty sure there's like an age cap on being an international ref. Like I think there's some ageism going on. So like if you're like serious and want to be like an international official, you got to get on that fast track because the clock's working against you on the other side. I don't think you can be like 60 and be an international ref.
That's wild to me. Like unbelievable. Look what we've stumbled upon here at the end of the show is some injustice that needs some attention that we just won't give it because we don't solve anything on this show except the Can West would dominate the OUA in an All-Star game.
All right, right.
I mean, we saw
Comment below if you disagree, but we don't get many comments, and this is a hard one to get on board with. So
yeah, like I think there's going to be some silent agreement to that one. If the comments are empty, I'll know everybody agrees.
I might just have to go and comment now.
You have to. Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Comment on every episode. We will see it. Like,
I think the real discussion is, would it be Can West's third or fourth string that finally loses to the OUA? Because 1 and 2 is a lock.
yeah, I think third string. I think fourth string is a bit much. I think third string. That's where I'm going. I'm just gonna while we're here at the
Thanks
end
for
of the
coming
show.
on the show, Zane. Really?
Yeah.
No, like our listeners. No, listen. Our listeners know that this is how it goes. Like nobody's surprised at this point. I'm pulling up our last video. And it's not performing well. No comments. 9 views. So that hurts, you guys. If you're still listening, thank you. That hurts. But what are the downloads, Josh? Let us know. Let the fans know that there's people out there so they can maybe feel like they're part of a community. Because Zane said at the beginning that he's maybe seen a few episodes, but we all know that was a lie.
I thought you were off for that part. I didn't know you could hear that. I didn't want to hurt.
No, we were off for that part, but I'm outing you while we're recording. Absolute lie. We've had a few people come on and say they watch the show, and I know they don't. Like I can tell for a fact they don't, based on our numbers, that they're lying.
Well, let's put it this way. I think we have some loyal listeners, Garrett, and maybe the people they're bragging because we're so awesome to their friends, they can't commit for the hour. So let's do this. Let's get them to click on the teasers on YouTube because you got a few shorts there. Like the Marquise ones are really good. Maybe people could dip their toe in and just watch the shorts, or they could go to Instagram with Passin Dimes and just watch like the full clips. And then if they like a funny comment from this or a couple zingers from Zane, then they can click on the full episode. Maybe it's just a commitment to the full hour that we're not getting these new people that we want.
What do you think, Zane?
I think you definitely are going to get at least 4 or 5 views solely from Howie G. So that's just like right out there. I know for sure he's going to rewatch this a bunch of times.
Now, is Howie still listening at this moment?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, Howie, thank you so much for listening. I mean, if you haven't...
Howie's got to be excited that Zane's going to be at U of T. He can wear his old gear. He can talk about the glory days because I think U of T might have, before Mac and Western did it, I think he was like the last Nationals medal for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he reminds me of that. I got his old like U of T vintage jacket that I've been sporting around. But yeah, I've heard a lot of the stories for a second or third time already, and it's only October, so I'm just expecting a few more down the stretch.
Because, I mean, Cole goes to Western, so that's kind of blah. You start off at Queens, but you really righted the ship by choosing to go to U of T. I'm sure he's just walking tall these days, getting excited. Probably got season tickets ready to go to Gold Ring every game.
Yeah, that was an early decision for him.
That's an easy call. He probably already had them just preemptively. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, good for you guys. I mean, this is the show, Zane. Sharp cuts. I mean, we had a few sharp cuts. We had a few pillow cuts, though, for sure. A lot of niceties.
Yeah, I can't change the inner nature. I don't know.
So, for listening to your first episode of Sharp Cuts, what'd you think?
For listening to it?
Yeah, well, you were part of it, but you also listened to it.
No, it was great. You definitely know how to boil the blood. Like,
you were getting pissed?
Yeah.
Oh, he hit it so well.
You
He
did.
hit it very well. He did not lash out.
Yeah, I stand by my OUA guys. I don't know. I think we're tough, and I think we can put together a good squad. But other than that, you didn't get to me, so don't give yourself too much credit.
Well, okay. I was planning on giving myself 0, but I mean, now that you're going to pay me a compliment here at the end, I'm taking full credit. I mean, it's usually how the show ends, though, is me fishing for compliments and usually getting them. Who was it? It was like one episode where somebody like just came out with a chirp when I said how was, and they're like, "Yeah, no, it wasn't that great."
I forget, but now I want to know.
I forget. Yeah, somebody was like, "Oh, yeah, it was okay." I mean, fair. Like, give it to me straight. But okay, that'll
I do
do
have
it.
one more thank you. I tried to ask Sophia Courier to be on the show, and she said, I can't do it. Maybe she wasn't interested, Garrett, but she did recommend the newest U of T Varsity Blue, and that's how we connected with Zane. So thanks to her. And Garrett, let's be honest. If anyone wants to come on the show or wants to recommend somebody, they can reach out. Like they must think that you have this huge network of people, but sometimes we want to talk to people we don't know. So if anybody has a guest suggestion, they can hit us up in the comments. They can shoot us a message on Instagram, comment on anything. Like I think we want to spread this. There's just not Garrett and Josh's friends. Like we got to meet some new people through this.
Absolutely. I mean, Zane was like our 10th choice. So
That's what I'm starting to get. I was just.
I think what Josh.
I didn't think we could get him. I didn't want to waste the DM. I didn't think we could get him.
No. Okay. Well, that'll do it for this episode.
Thanks for having me.
We got to end it because it's gone on way too long and nobody's listening, not even Howie. So thanks, Zane, for being here with us. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Once again, episodes Monday morning. Hit us up. Hit that like button, subscribe, all that. Thanks for listening. You are the best. That'll do it for this one. We'll see you next time.